And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another broadcast of the ESL Masters Summer 2023 Open Bracket, the open stage here of DreamHack Young Shipping, essentially. Welcome, of course, your host, Live VIP, and I'm with me. I'm joined once again by my lovely, my beautiful plushies. I know. I need an updated photo. I know. I need a new photo with the Marines, with the Overlords as well, with the Infestor. There've been a lot of Cardboard plushies released over the years, so soon TM on that. But yeah, we're here with Group C, of the Open Brackets. Over the past couple of weeks, we have been covering all the other groups. We started with Group A, we continued with Group B, and here we are with Group C, and next week we'll wrap it all up with Group D. Our goal here is to broadcast all of the Open Bracket just because so many matches weren't casted, and as a reminder, of course, we were there casting it live day one, but we couldn't cast everything because there are just so many matches happening at once. For example, we actually casted the lower qualifying match of this very group. Don't want to go too much into it, of course, but we did cast the qualifying match, but only the qualifying match, because at the time we were focusing on Group D. When it comes to the live broadcast, A and B happened at the same time, C and D happened at the same time. So we actually, when we were there, when we were casting, we focused on Group D and not so much Group C. So yeah, I have no idea kind of how any of these games turned out, and I'm really excited. We're going to be featuring players like RagnaroK, Gerald, Showtime, Skilless, Cristiano, and a player that I have never casted before. I've heard his name pop up. I've definitely heard of him. I know of him, but I've never watched his games. I've never been able to cast him either. Fiant, the Swedish Zerg player. I think he was recently picked up by Team Roddy, and he's been making some waves here and there. Again, I've heard some good things about him, but I haven't had the luxury of casting him, so I definitely look forward to that later on down the line, later on this evening. I want to be introduced to a new fellow Zerg player. You don't get too many of them. But yeah, always happy to see a new one pop up. Photo? I mean, it's not a life. Oh. I've been found out, papi. But a shout out to everyone in the chat as well. Wormstick, 47 Ness, Kuro in the chat. Baby Link, thank you so much for resubscribing for 14 months. Thank you so much. Over a year of support. Thank you. Always do appreciate it, always. And Muppet as well. Do you grind through all those games in these replay casts or just a selection? So undecided. we have been skipping a couple of games. There have been a couple of matches that I have been skipping for one reason and one reason only, time, and I'm also solo casting, so I have limited it to 6 or 7 matches. In this group, because we barely touched it, there are 12. There are 12 matches to go through, and unfortunately I can't. I don't think I have it in me to go through all 12 matches tonight, so I did have to cut a couple. I was thinking, I could try and I guess we could. Ideally, we would split this up into 2 broadcasts then. Group C, we could cut it up into 2 casts instead, one today and one next week. But that will be delaying Group D, and I don't know how I feel about that. So I'm still a little bit on the fence as to whether I should just have a second broadcast for Group C, or just, you know, end up cutting off a couple, which is a shame. Ideally, I do want to cast everything. I don't want any of the players to be feeling like left out or anything like that. So yeah, we'll see. Aye. Hoping for a Fiant's breakthrough. He's really struggled, but showed some progress the recent month or so. Nice. Again, I haven't casted him at all. I have no idea how he performs, no idea how he plays. So I'm ready. I'm ready for some Fiant action. Let's go. Everything supports men that don't wear pants. Confirmed. You're an animal, Bob. You're an animal. Shaking my head. All right. Here we go. So our first matchup is going to be RagnaroK versus Gerald here in the first round of Group C. A bit of a cheeky PvZ. Let's go, Bobby. Let's go. And I'm thankful for this because I think it was in the last group where I casted like 5 PvPs. I say 5. I think it was like 3 PvPs back to back. But it felt like 5. It was a lot, and I appreciate that we get to mix in some other matchups. Let's go. especially after last night. Last night we were casting the Kung Fu Cup, of course, which had the TVT Grand Finals, which were a lot of fun, definitely, but I need some Zerg action injected right into my veins. And here we go. Spawning in the top left-hand corner of Dragon Scales, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Mystery Gaming. It is RagnaroK. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. Oh, I just realized something. Okay. God. I thought I turned that off. In the bottom right-hand corner of Dragon Scales, we have his opponent. We have the Polish Protoss player representing Storm Gaming. It is Gerald. Let us go. And yeah, these are two players that have been rising up. I mean, coming into this, of course, RagnaroK is a favorite in the group. A lot of Koreans did fly over to Sweden to DreamHack to participate in the open bracket. That makes these open bracket matches really scary and really terrifying. And I'm really looking forward to see how Gerald can perform. You know, he's kind of got the home field or the home region advantage. He hasn't been able to travel. He didn't need to travel for as long, and he has been improving over time. But something to bear in mind as well is that famously in WTL, Gerald did lose his power. So he's playing with a little bit of a handicap. And what do I mean by that? Gerald, he shaved his mustache. His mustache is look, I don't want to say that he is nothing without his mustache, but he looks amazing with it. Like it looks so good on him. And at the start of the year, he shaved, and you know, we were told by the player manager of Storm at the time, it was like, no, it's like, you know what, it's fine, it can just grow back, don't worry about it, it'll be back in no time. It never grew back. It's never returned ever since the start of the year, and I feel like I don't know this man anymore. I don't know this player. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. So yeah, maybe he's just waiting. Maybe he's waiting for summer to be over, and winter is when he goes like Super Saiyan and he regrows it again. But yeah, I wonder what the story is behind that. I wonder what the reasoning for that was. I mean, of course, like it's fine, but his mustache. As we have a very interesting opener here, we're going to be going for a Twilight Council opener instead of your typical Stargate opener. So yeah, Gerald's not going to be playing a standard, going to be playing aggressive here in game number 1. And I do worry because I feel like aggression is exactly what RagnaroK thrives in. His comfort zone is aggression, is chaos. So we'll see if he can keep up with the likes of RagnaroK. For the time being, RagnaroK hasn't been able to scout yet. We do see that Adept being chronoed as we speak. The first one across the map. We haven't pulled out. Is this a DT opener? It looks like we should be seeing a Dark Shrine, as we haven't pulled out of any of these gases. Meanwhile, across the map, the Adept is just keeping RagnaroK busy. Of course, we have a hatch gas full opener, hatchery here on the low ground, so standard stuff out of RagnaroK. He's not cutting workers or anything like that. Or he's not making an influx of lings. We do have the first Overlord diving into the main base. We still haven't done anything with our tech. We haven't thrown down additional gases or additional gateways. And there it is. There is that Dark Shrine. Now the question becomes, can Gerald keep this hidden? The Stalker has arrived and is going to be chipping away at this Overlord, but the Overlord should be confirming the gas mining here. Scouts the Robo, will scout the Twilight Council. We'll also see that the Twilight Council isn't researching. With all this information, RagnaroK should be aware that it's a Dark Shrine. He didn't see, oh no, he did. He even sees the Dark Shrine as well, so he gets all the information he needs. RagnaroK should be able to prepare back at home. There we go, spores are on the way as we speak, getting ready for the Invisible Man. Likewise, we're joining, making queens. RagnaroK, he doesn't have to rush into too many units. We already have lings flooding across the map. The wall, thankfully, is a wall, but we get some good surface area on this Cybercore. We only have one gateway. Bear that in mind. We can only warp in one unit at a time. We don't go for the Cybercore. Could we have gotten it? Maybe, but I don't know. With the DPS of 2 Adepts, it would have been close, as RagnaroK does back off. At least he causes a little bit of havoc. He forces a warp in, shield battery, second pylon as well. Gerald taking this very seriously, really concerned about any kind of bust. And the Prism is moving out. Now, by the time the Prism arrives, Yeah, we already have detection available. We don't have a lair, so no mobile detection, but detection nonetheless, and this will be covering the mineral lines, will be covering the bases themselves. The queens have arrived, and we are skipping out on those lings, but we have enough, and yeah, the DTs are going to have a hard time fighting damage. They do dive on top of at least one of these queens. We have a transfuse, the lings arrive, and the DTs are deflected. Now, the power behind a DT opener is that it's not like all in, it's not cheesy. The DTs don't have to do damage. You can back off, you can warp in another wave of DTs and go for an Archon drop instead, and you can gain value that way. You can pick off Overlords, you can micro and, you know, pick off drones, you can dance with the queens. You can still be very active and still find a lot of damage with these initial 2 Archons. First one is on the way, the second should be on the way momentarily as well. There we go. So Gerald is still going to be active here with his units. His third base is delayed because of this build, unfortunately, but it's not too far behind, and it's, you know, for the time being up and running. Here we go. The Archons are now moving back out across the map. Now, something interesting that just happened is that Gerald actually turned all the way back home to morph in those Archons. And that tells me that he was really paranoid, and he's really respecting the map awareness and the, like, how active RagnaroK is as a player. He didn't want to get caught out warping in or morphing in Archons in the middle of the map. He didn't want to lose anything. So yeah, now does come back around. Now, because Gerald played this out very safe, it does mean that the Archon drop is delayed. And with that, we do have plenty here in position. A good micro though, we don't lose the Archons, and we shave off a good chunk of lings. 13 lings in total have gone down so far. And behind this, we are taking into a robotics bay, into disruptor production, which again, you do have to make use of your tech as efficiently as possible. And because we had a robo initially, we're just going straight into that robotics bay, straight into disruptor production, just to try to catch up, because again, this hasn't been the best start for Gerald. As we do have these Archons hitting the field here, going to be, once again, shaving off some of these tumors, picking off some lings wherever they can, and yeah, RagnaroK is going to be able to force back Gerald. But again, as long as Gerald doesn't lose these Archons, he should be perfectly fine. Like, as long as he doesn't lose these Archons, like, he's, you know, maintaining map control, he's gaining value over time because of this observer. More of these active tumors are going to get picked up. And back at home, Gerald, he's been macroing quite well for himself. Has a lot of idle workers, unfortunately. Oh, there we go. Does go back to mining. We have a warping back at home. Disruptors have arrived, 2 of them waiting here in the main base. And we do have Colossus on the way as well. Oh! Prison takes a lot of hits, but no, he does get the queen. Very nicely done by Gerald. Once again, keeping those Archons alive, sniping a queen as well. Again, a lot of this value was gained just by being active, and now Gerald is going to be able to expand and take that 4th base. Now, Gerald doesn't really have an army that can push out. He's only got a handful of units, and he's soon about to have that Colossus. So once he does have 2 Colossi, he can start to be active on the map. He can vie for map control. He can try to threaten some of these bases. Until such a time, he's still just heavily reliant on the prison. As his army just getting in position to make sure the 4th base gets up and running. At the same time, the disruptor drop has arrived. Novas go off, and what kind of connections do we get? 1 connection on those lings, not too bad. At the same time, oh, the mutas have arrived. I didn't get to mention it, but there was a Spire on the way, and RagnaroK, he was trying to sneak out those mutas. Oh boy, and yeah, he's already doing quite a lot with this. He wasn't just being defensive back at home because of that disruptor, the prism opener. Mutas, of course, can wreak havoc, and oh, they even just barely do delay that robo. Ay, ay, ay. Not ideal here for Gerald. Now, what's interesting is that we're not pulling a dark. We only made a handful of mutas. We have 8 mutas. This is enough to one-shot a probe. 5 mutas is enough to one-shot a probe. So this is only to harass. Back at home, he's focusing on a Ling, Bane, Roach, Ravager army. So even though we've been focusing a lot on Gerald, RagnaroK behind this has been droning up really well. You know, he's up to, what, 80 workers at this point, working towards our 5th base as we speak. And again, he's just maxing out here on his ground army. Ideally, RagnaroK wants to force an overreaction, but Gerald doesn't take the bait. What I mean by that is, Gerald, he didn't throw down a Stargate, didn't go for any Phoenixes. He's not overreacting here to the mutants. He has recognized that it's still a ground-related army, and here we go. The Novas are going to be going off the army laser siege upon the 4th base. Good pickup on those disruptors. The mineral line is under threat, but thankfully it wasn't too saturated. As I say that, the Banelings do roll into that fourth base. They don't quite make it all the way, and the fourth will go down, and that makes it worth it here for RagnaroK. Containing Gerald to 3 bases is really all he was looking for. Anything more would be a bonus, and yeah, with that, Gerald's he's a little bit on the back foot. The Muta Cloud is still alive. We still have 5 mutas. Again, we can still one-shot probes, and we're diving into that main base. We have a shield battery, we have a cannon. We are much better prepared this time, and we're still getting probe damage done nonetheless. Behind this, we're taking up into a hive. We're working towards 2-1. Upgrades a little bit delayed. Reason for that, again, is because of the spy, because these mutas are quite expensive, and they did kind of eat into the overall tech of RagnaroK, but they've more than paid for themselves. They're keeping Gerald at home. Still no 4th base, by the way. Still no 3-base economy. Now, what is scary is that Gerald can still max out on this. Like he can still sustain a maxed out army, or like at least initially. So he has one good fight in him, but only one, at least until he gets another base up and running. Whether it's at the triangular third, the forward base, or here on the left-hand side, he needs one of them if he wants to keep going in this game. Until then, still just heavily reliant on the disruptor drops. Not the best angle, unfortunately, and the disruptors don't get any connections there. The mutas do fend off the prism as well. They don't chase it down. RagnaroK really respecting the stalkers of Gerald and doesn't want to get caught out with his mutas. He doesn't want to throw them away needlessly. Behind this, with our melee upgrades, we're working towards an Ultra Cavern. We're working towards Adrenal as well. Ultras, I know that they have a bit of a memey reputation, but they can do quite well against Protoss, especially if the Protoss is pushing into you. And based on how this game has been going, Gerald is going to be forced, or he may be forced into an all-in, especially if this 4th base is denied for another time, or a second time. As Gerald is still just mustering up his army. We're up to 3 Colossi, 3 Disruptors, 7 High Templar. Storm still on the way. We are getting every form of splash damage for the Protoss. And that's great and all, but again, RagnaroK, he has so much time to himself to just tech up, to do whatever he wants. Now, the worrisome thing here is that RagnaroK has an army that trades. RagnaroK, he has an army that needs to fight, and okay, thankfully he's going for that. If he's leaving things, or if he leaves his army too idle, then Gerald is going to max out. He's going to have a more efficient army, and he can just A-move. He can just roll over RagnaroK. So RagnaroK, he needs to force a fight soon so he can quickly remax and make use of his bank. Here we go. Nova goes off. Good connection on the Banelings. 4th base is going to be going down once again. Oh, nice dodge from RagnaroK, not gonna lie. But that's the second time that's a kill on the 4th, and here we go. He's poked the bear. Now Gerald has maxed. Now he's moving out. Thankfully, thankfully RagnaroK is, again, remaxing. He just threw away some Banelings. Now he can rebuild them. He's getting ready here for a surround. But we are on Dragon Scales, not the largest map. One wrong move, and then suddenly, Gerald is going to be in your base. Here we go. He's trying to come in from behind. And he's chasing this into storms. Unfortunately, Banelings do get some decent connections, but that was a much more efficient trade for Gerald. RagnaroK, though, he has to back off, remax. Here we go. 4 Ultras are on the way. Ultras, they take a long time. They take a very long time to produce. By the time they come out, is RagnaroK still going to be alive? Is he still going to even have this base as Gerald is pushing his way forward? More Novas will connect on the Morphing and Banelings, on the Roaches as well. Colossus are raining down on this army, and it looks like RagnaroK is going to be broken here. The 4th base is going to go down. Now, how much more can Gerald get done before those Ultras pop? That's the question. One Ultra's going to be popping in the face of this army, unfortunately, and it's going to go down instantly. Ultra speed still not done either. We do see RagnaroK trying to trickle on in, but I feel like we're pushing in too soon. Yeah, far too soon. Another Ultra goes down, and Gerald has far too much. He is snowballing out of control. Power of Dragon Scales, you know, one wrong move, one wrong fight here on the left-hand side of the map just very quickly escalated here into a win for Gerald as he shuts everything down. RagnaroK forced to tap out as well. GG gets called, and Gerald takes game number 1. GG. Oh, very well done there by Gerald. RagnaroK, unfortunately, did a very classic Zerg mistake against Protoss. If you're on this low-tech army, you need to trade, and again, he wasn't quite being too active with it. He was teching, don't get me wrong, he was teching up to ultras, but if you're going to be taking up like that, you need to ease your way into it. You need to start getting rid of some of your roaches, your banelings, trade it out, keep the Protoss player at bay long enough for you to actually get a more refined army. Alas, RagnaroK wasn't able to get into those ultras until the very end of the game, and by that point was a little bit too late. GG. Let's go. Catching up in the chat, Gerald was synonymous with the mustache. A true loss for the StarCraft community. True. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. But hey, you know, maybe the mustache was just weighing him down. Maybe it was just weighing his face down, and now, you know, his face is up. He is up in this series as well against RagnaroK. Really good stuff. Definitely. Catching up. I'm a bit puzzled by RagnaroK sometimes. He takes out really strong players, but he rarely gets very far at the end of tournaments. He did have 2 exceptional results with GSL. Yeah, we talk about this a lot with players like RagnaroK. Gumiho is the same. I do kind of, when I think of RagnaroK, I think Gumiho is kind of a Terran equivalent, where they are a little bit more inconsistent compared to players like Dark and Maru. For example, as you were saying, RagnaroK, he had that second place in GSL not too long ago, and likewise Gumiho also came second in ESL Masters Summer as well. But because again, they can peak very well, they can peak very high, but they aren't always at that level. You know, they have to be feeling on point on the day, on the week, in the match. And when they pop off, boy, do they pop off! But it's not every tournament that does occur. But that's also why they're really entertaining to watch. that's always why it's a lot of fun to watch players like Gumiho and RagnaroK, because they are so wild, so aggressive. They have such a personality with the way that they play. They do provide for a lot of fun games, a lot of unique games. As we are now getting into game number 2. Is this live? The cast is live, but this is covering some replays from a tournament from a couple of weeks ago. So here we go. We are diving into game number 2. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Royal Blood, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Mystery Gaming. Currently down in this series, it is RagnaroK. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Polish Protoss player currently leading this series 1-0, representing Sidestorm Gaming. It is Gerald. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go. And yeah, I'm already really impressed with how Gerald was able to play out game number 1. There were a lot of little minute details there. Obviously, he was playing a very defensive style, but really good of Gerald not to overreact to the mutas, for example. Like, if he had wasted resources throwing down Stargates, getting Phoenixes, like, Gerald was so unfazed. He saw a flock of mutas in his main base, and he's like, mate, my Stogas can deal with this. and he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong, you know? He kind of called RagnaroK's bluff there, and yeah, he in a way rolled the dice and rolled correctly, as RagnaroK only made 8 mutas, if you recall. Which, to be fair, did pay for themselves for RagnaroK. Like, they did do really well for him, and RagnaroK was able to deny the 4th base time and time again. Gerald was essentially all in that last game. He was all in. It was all or nothing. Either he was able to win the game then and there, or he runs out of steam, and then RagnaroK takes the win instead. But because it's Dragon Scales, the rush distance is very short. It means that if you take a bad fight, you can just straight up lose the game. You don't have enough time to remax as a Zerg player, or as any player, to be fair, whether you're Zerg, Protoss, or Terran. Maps like Dragon Scales, maps like Neo-Humanity, Babylon is a little bit like that as well. Like, depending on where the fight occurs, if you do take a poor fight, even if you have a bank, even if you're remaxing on ultras, for example, you just won't be given enough time to rebuild, and your bases are going to be very quickly under threat. Oh, I don't expect that same kind of that same mantra to apply to Royal Blood though. Royal Blood is a little bit larger. It's one of the more quote-unquote middle-of-the-road maps in the map pool, and as a result, I do think that RagnaroK won't have the same issue. I do think that Gerald has to go for a bit of a different style overall, and we already see the openers are changing. It is going to be a Stargate opener here, not a Dark Shrine opener, or not a Twilight Council opener. Again, Gerald's going old school last game, going for the DTs. You know, getting a lot of map control early on, to be fair, but now much more meta, much more standard, going for that Oracle opener. Now, something that's really interesting to me though is the overall building placement. I didn't really get to mention it before, but Gerald did throw down his first Cybercore and his first gateway in his main base, which is really odd. Now, I was kind of talking about the previous game, but yeah, this is just a really odd building placement. Really greedy stuff. He does go for another 2 gateways here on the low ground, but this is, again, a really weird build. Typically, you delay your 3rd gateway in favor of a faster Nexus, but no, we get a 3rd gateway, and now we're going into Phoenixes. Like, this is a really... Yeah, this is not standard. I'm curious where this is going to lead, because I wonder if Gerald has a very different plan here, as we do have our first Phoenix out, the first Oracle, just trying to find some damage here, dancing between the bases, but no, doesn't find too much. Is going to be forced back by the Queens. Meanwhile, the Lings do force a delay on that 3rd base. Again, we just had very little at home to defend. Because we went for the Phoenix 2nd, we didn't have an Oracle to help support that base, and Gerald is on the back foot. Again, it goes to show like how important that 2nd Oracle is, or if you're going to be delaying your 2nd Oracle, it may be important to just keep your 1st Oracle back at home just to make sure that your base gets up and running. So already a good start here for RagnaroK. Meanwhile, Geralt, with the abundance of gateways here, he's not really making full use of it either. He's got 3 Adept, sure, but he's skipping Warpins. Okay, there we go. We do have another Warpin of Adept, so it looks like he wants to be active here with his ground army as well. Phoenix comes in, picks up a Queen, and we're going to be able to get a couple more drone kills. 4 drones in total. Not too bad. Geralt is actually going for double forge. Double forge before Twilight Council. This is so... Oh my god. Okay. So with this, is going to be hitting a pretty strong 1-1 and later 2-2 timing. Is, of course, going to be hanging back a little bit more here when it comes to his transition. Now, because of all these adepts, I was assuming he was going to be approaching this like Hero. Hero, he usually warps in, Hero and Classic, they usually warp in additional Glaveless adepts, and these come in conjunction with the Oracles. It looks like the Oracles are going to be going for some multi-prong aggression instead. They're trying to dip into the main base. The Queens are hopefully distracted. Stasis Trap does get thrown down. No reaction. Oh, a massive stasis in the main base, and another in the 3rd as well. Adepts are going to get cleaned up, but these stasis traps have done very well here for Gerald. Does make up for the fact that the 3rd base was delayed, as we go in for even more damage. But we forced out all these Lings earlier, and with the death of all those adepts, there's no shield battery. No shield battery, no overcharge. These Lings are going to get out of control. The Stalkers are going to be going down. The Oracles, one of them is out of energy. The other still can help support. We need it. Does activate its beam, but despite that, the Lings get a full surround. They take down every single unit on the ground. The probes are under threat as well. This is getting a little bit out of hand. Oh. Again, this does just slow down Geralt. It forces more wasted resources in these defensive warp-ins. And yeah, we're taking up towards Templar Archives and additional gateways. So until like these upgrades kick in, like I don't really expect Geralt to be too active anymore. That's what I meant earlier. Like when you're being this tech heavy, usually you do have to relinquish some map control. He does actually make another Oracle though. So with these 3 Oracles, he's going to be able to apply a lot more pressure here to RagnaroK. Hopefully keep him back at home. But the Lings, they just keep on coming. Another surround on these adepts. Ay. RagnaroK, he's just gotten so much value with this. Back at home, he's saturating his 4th base. We have A Hydra Den already done, so it's going to be Lingbane Hydra coming out from RagnaroK. Banelings are already being morphed in. The Oracles are being distracted, so the Banelings can just waddle into that mineral line. No Baneling speed, unfortunately, but regardless, these Banelings can still find a lot of damage. Gerald, he's trying to wall off. He's trying to turtle on up here on his 3 bases, but he just cannot. Lings have arrived, the Banelings as well. The Oracles thankfully do come back in time, but we need to focus on these Banelings. Ooh. Had an overcharge, thankfully. Gerald is going to be able to hold on. But again, Gerald, he's been fighting so hard just to keep his 3rd base up and running. Meanwhile, RagnaroK, he's been able to take up quite happily into all these Hydras. And this follow-up Ling Hydra push is going to be pretty devastating. Oh boy. Are we even going to have enough units to really contest against this? We're going to have Storm. We are so heavily reliant on Storm. It's going to be amazing, right? Like, Storm does well against Hydras, Lings, and Banelings. All things light, of course. But can he get the connections that he needs? Does he even have the High Templar for it? He's only got 2. 2 High Templar with barely any energy. The High Templar have been scouted. RagnaroK is fully aware of what he's going up against. But again, that is not going to stop him. Gerald's again fully walling off here in the center of the map as well. He knows how much danger he's in. He knows how greedy he's being, and he's got to get away with a lot. We have Lings on the right hand side distracting Gerald. We have Hydras here on the left just powering through this wall. And can we get enough Storms in time? Can we split up our army? That is the question. Lane's trying to slip on by, but no, they don't quite make it through. So far, Gerald, he's holding. Cannons and shield batteries are finishing up. Oh, God. I didn't notice pneumatized Carapace on the way earlier. Overlord speed is done, and we're going for a massive Ling drop into the main base. Let's go, Bobby. Let's go. Hydras have arrived. Once again, we are distracting Gerald. We're keeping his attention here on the front door. Not in the back, though. As the Ling Hydra pushes on through, a massive Doom drop into the main base. The Banelings do get caught in some stasis traps. The Hydra army backs off, but we do drop into the main. And what can we get done? We get a couple of pros. We're going to be able to take down to the fortress. But no, 2-2 does finish. 2-2 finishes just in time. If this was only a couple of seconds sooner, but as the Stalkers do get pulled back into the main, once again, RagnaroK just trying to pull his opponent apart. Bailey's speed does kick in, and he's going for the mineral line. Ooh. He rolls on forward, doesn't quite make it in, but he's going to be able to get on top of at least some of these Archons. Most Archons even. Only 1 Archon survives out of the 4. Yeah, it looks like RagnaroK has done enough damage to at least cripple the army here of Gerald. He lost all his high-tech units. Looking at the units tab here, we don't have any Archons, no High Templar, no Storm. Did we... Am I crazy? Did we even see a Storm? If we did, maybe if a Storm was thrown down, maybe I did miss it. But yeah, unfortunately, that didn't really come into play at all. And as RagnaroK has been hyper aggressive, he took a 5th base behind this. Hive is on the way, just in time for some Lurker upgrades, as the Lurker Den is done as well. RagnaroK seamlessly transitioning or taking up behind all of this aggression. And RagnaroK is having a really hard time keeping up with all of this as the Lurkers have arrived. Revelation does connect here with the Lurkers, thankfully, so we do have eyes on them. High Templar pushes on forward, but no, cannot get close to this. Another drop into the main base. And unfortunately, Gerald, he just couldn't really get the momentum he needed to get a strong High Templar count, get a strong, basically make use of his splash damage. We do have a couple of Storms being thrown down now, but it's a little bit too little too late, as once again, Gerald is contained to 3 bases. Gerald may have a high worker count, but as you can see, he is heavily oversaturated here at his 3rd. Oh, he's taking up into Sky Toss, but this is, again, too little too late. We don't have the economy to sustain Sky Toss right now. And Gerald, we don't have anything to buy Gerald time for RagnaroK to turn back around and actually give Gerald the breathing room he needs. RagnaroK just constantly in his face. Lurkers laying siege upon the Nexus here on the left-hand side of the map, and with this overcharge with this army, it looks like Gerald may be able to hold on, but the fourth, that's a kill, not a cancel. The concave is real. So many Lurker spines are going off. GG gets called, and RagnaroK fights back in this series, putting a point on the board. GG. We have an ace match. We have an ace match, and game 2 is what I expected out of RagnaroK. Game 1 was really odd in that respect. RagnaroK was very passive, if you recall. Like, sure, he was harassing with his mutas, but for the most part, and sure, he was like continuing to deny the fourth base, sure, but he wasn't really threatening the third. He wasn't going for the drop play that we saw here. Like, this is the RagnaroK we know and love, like very active, like a very fast player, hyper aggression, just constant attacks on the left, on the right, and yeah, with that he was able to look a little more dominant here in game 2. But now we have game 3. Now we have an ace match, and oh, I'm concerned because the map is another small one, similar to Dragon Scales, actually smaller than Dragon Scales. Game 3 is going to be taking place on Neo Humanity. Let's go, Pop. Let's go. Yes, there's a replay cast in the title. Yes, yes. The games themselves aren't live. The cast is. There you go. There you go. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Neo Humanity, we have the Polish Protoss player representing Storm Gaming. Being forced here into the ace match. Can he bring it back? Can he take the series? It is Gerald. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have as a opponent, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Mystery Gaming, tying up the series 1-1 in that last game, forcing the ace match. It is RagnaroK. Okay. Now, based off of what we've seen so far, I do think that Gerald wants to take advantage of Neo Humanity. And what Gerald was trying to do in game number 2 was cut the map in half. He was trying to wall off, really solidify his 4 bases, turtle up, and recover from all the damage that he was taking. Neo Humanity is a much easier map to do that on, just because of all these choke points. There are so many narrow entryways into these bases, and we have seen time and time again both Terran and Protoss players wall off, turtle up, cut the map in half, and force the late game. And I want to believe that that's where Gerald wants to go, but we'll see, because to be fair, you know, if you remember in game 1, even though Gerald did go for a big, like, kind of death bully push, initially he was very aggressive. You know, he was harassing with DPs, he was harassing with disruptors as well. Even in game 2, he was being active with his oracles and with his adepts. So even though that's kind of where both games kind of ended up, I do think that Gerald, he still wants to be active in the early to mid game. So we'll see how he opens up here. We'll see if he goes for a Twilight Council or a Stargate here in the ace match. Meanwhile, RagnaroK across the map goes for a Hatch Gas Pool. Nothing too crazy. No early spawning pool, no early gases, no early game aggression from our Zerg player, but he does at least get his natural up and running. Oh, this probe is being very annoying. Trying to slow him down. Just being a nuisance here to the drones. Cybercore has finished up, and momentarily Gerald should be picking his tech of choice, and there we have it. I was curious. I was like, where's that second pylon? Interesting. The second pylon is hidden behind the natural base, a very unorthodox location for the tech. Very well hidden here from Gerald, so he's going for the Twilight Council first, and we'll see how dedicated this is going to be. Again, if he doesn't pull out a gas, it should be for a Dark Shrine opener, as we saw in the previous game. There's that Robo on the way. And this is looking like another Dark Shrine. But we'll see, because there are a couple of different things that you can go for. You can still stay in gas and still go glaives and go for a glaive adepts with DTs as well, which is a lot more all-in, a little more committed on 2 bases. But as we don't have any additional gateways, or we don't have faster glaives. This should be for a Dark Shrine once again, just like game number 1. Well, meanwhile, RagnaroK, he's cutting workers. Uh-oh. So the Dark Shrine is thrown down, as to be expected here. RagnaroK is in the dark. He didn't go for his Overlord Scout. He has eyes on the front door. He saw that Warp Gate wasn't delayed, so he's got an idea of what's going on. He's got an idea of the Twilight Council open over his opponent. Whether it's glaives or not, he doesn't know, but he actually made a massive amount of lings here. He cut workers early on to make this happen. He's going back into droning, but these lings, what can we get done? We go for the surround on that Stalker. Up! We don't get it. Stalker does not go down. The Adepts do shade behind this wall. The lings are getting nothing done. Very quick moves out of Gerald, preserving every single one of his units. He does fully wall off. At the same time, the Overlord dives into the main base, but because of the location of this tech, is RagnaroK going to be able to spot this? It's going to be close. A couple more shots. Up! Up! Oh. Overlord does go down, and RagnaroK doesn't see anything, which is very suspect, to be fair. So how does he respond? We have a Roach Warren. We have a Spore on the way. RagnaroK, he is covering his bases, trying to figure out if it's, going to be glaives, if it's going to be DTs. Prism has been revealed, and there we go. DTs are being warped in on the front lines. RagnaroK is aware. He's getting another Spore in his main base. And the Spores finish up just in time for the DTs. We get a surround as well. Can we save them? We can. Once again, Gerald doing a great job of preserving his units. Behind this, we have a third base. Adepts are in position to defend it as well. Should be on hold position behind that pylon. And yeah, with that, once again, Gerald, he doesn't get too much damage done with his DTs. But the same thing happened in game number 1, if you remember. The DTs, they don't need to get damage done. The Archons are really going to be the follow-up that gets value here, gets map control for Gerald. Meanwhile, RagnaroK, I believe this was a 5-minute lair, so going straight into his lair as we speak, taking his gases as well. 4 gases, so this should just be for roaches, or for roach speed. We may have a repeat of game 1, and RagnaroK may decide to try to go into a Spire. We'll keep on the gas. We'll keep an eye on the gases. And oh, actually, all 6 gases are taken. With this much gas, we can go towards a Spire or even a Hydrogen. We can take up. Is kind of what I'm getting at. As the Archons are still looking for damage, one of the Overlords did go down. Going to be able to dive onto another as well. The Transfuse keeps it alive a little bit longer, but ooh, not enough to keep that Overlord alive. Not enough to keep it alive. As Gerald is sharking around for more damage. Meanwhile, RagnaroK, there it is. Because those 6 gases were taken, it was going to be either a Hydrogen or a Spire, and it is a Spire. The Archons haven't scouted it though. They haven't gone close enough. They were not able to see the tech of RagnaroK. So this is just like game 1. Unironically. We have a third base on the way. Disruptors are coming out to defend against a Roach push. It's the deja vu is real. And I'm worried about that, right? Because I do think that this map does favor Geralt a little bit more than Dragon Scales did. As we have at that Gateway Explosion. Gateways are about to finish up. Blink and +1 on the way. I'm a little bit surprised that Gerald came back home. If you remember, in the previous game, he was using his Archon drop in conjunction with this Observer to clear up creep, to deny creep as best he can. Instead, Gerald actually backs off, and he's gonna be consolidating his army. This move out does get spotted. RagnaroK does have eyes here on the Archons of his opponents. He has control of the Zeldaga as well. RagnaroK is getting in position. Gerald has had enough of lying back. +1 kicks in. Blink is gonna finish up in time for this push as well. And there isn't that much creep here on the left-hand side of the map. We good. The army pushes on forward. Hatchery is going to be going down. RagnaroK is going to have to give it up. And immediately he does evacuate. He does expand here in the central location. And I love this from Gerald. He picks off the base and backs off. No need to rush anything. We have more disruptors on the way. We have +2 on the way as well. It's not like Gerald was all in. A push just designed to deny that base. And now RagnaroK is going for his counterattack. Oh, disruptors are waiting on top of this ramp. Nova goes off on a good chunk of lings, and we have another disruptor as well. RagnaroK, he has to respect it. Does back off. And now RagnaroK is in a really awkward position. A position that not a lot of Zerg players find themselves in, as, oh, the mutas have arrived. We were talking about that Spire earlier. But where RagnaroK, he's behind in the economy. Like, he needs to get damage done here. Mutas are getting picked off. This is doing significantly less damage. No, no! The mutas, they were left idle as well. Not like this. They needed to do more, especially because we're not committing to them. We made 8 mutas once again, and we only have 4 left. We're still focusing on a ground army, and here we go. Gerald, he's pushing out across the map. Gaining speed, still a couple seconds away from finishing. Nova goes up. Doesn't connect. Only forces the army back. We still have 3 more Novas in the chamber. Once again, no connections here as RagnaroK is forcing this back. Got a pretty good fight overall. Hot pick up there from Gerald does save those disruptors. And the push just doesn't stop. You can see that Gerald, he just has to back off. Ideally, he would have shield batteries here. Ideally, he backs off, tops up his shields, and then goes back in. Oh my god. Once again, more dodges coming out from RagnaroK, but another big connection. Gerald making sure he doesn't get surrounded. Does throw down or knock down those rocks. Mutas go in from behind, but again, there are only a handful of mutas left. They're not really working. They're not really paying for themselves here. Not this time. As Gerald brings everything back. Okay, that looked like a hotkey issue, not gonna lie. It looked like he only intended for a small group of stalkers, but everything turned back around. Up! Oh, that's another major connection. Meanwhile, at the same time, Link counterattack denies the 6th base. Sorry, 5th base even. Banelings roll on in, and oh, do they get into the middle line? They up! They're trying! They do not. Stalkers are far too beefy. Banelings, they crash into a brick wall. The wall stands strong, and now Gerald can focus on his push once again. Now, against all these disruptors, the scary thing is that RagnaroK, he doesn't have a hive, he doesn't have an infestation, sorry, he doesn't have vipers. He's equal on bases. Again, RagnaroK behind in economy. He's having a hard time getting any breathing room here. Here we go, the Banelings, they come in from behind, though. This time we get a full surround. This time the disruptors will fall down. A much better fight this time for RagnaroK. It looks like every single disruptor does get focused. Do we want to keep on pushing? It looks like he does. Only stalkers do stand between him and this Nexus. Oh, he's barely not going to be able to make it through. He is forced back. At the same time, we have a prism into the main base. DTs and Zealots are warped in. Lair is going to be going down. I mean, I was talking about the potential of a hive and going into Vipers, but mate, we don't even have a lair. Not anymore. Prism will fall. But Gerald has done more than enough damage. He has crippled the economy here of RagnaroK. He's down to only 2 bases, 2 mining bases. That is it. Once again, he's coming from behind. Once again, a pretty good fight here for RagnaroK overall, but he needs to snowball. He needs to do more than just trade with the army. The pressure is on him to do damage. He breaks through the shield battery. He breaks through the overcharge. He's trying to get on top of these stalkers, but no, the concave is just far too good. RagnaroK bleeding out too much. He's losing everything he has. GG gets called, and Gerald, the Polish Protoss player, takes game number 3 and the series 2-1. Oh, GG, well played. Oh my god. Gerald's able to not just withstand the aggression of RagnaroK, but also hit some really strong timings as well. Again, I was shocked when he moved out and when he initially sniped the first 4th base of RagnaroK, and had the patience as well, the discipline to just back off from there, work towards a later push. RagnaroK had a really hard time pushing into all those disruptors as well and really punishing that 4th base. If you recall, the mutas this time also killed maybe 4 probes, 5 probes, like barely any economic damage was done. Really, even though the Spire wasn't scouted, the mutas weren't worth it, and they really set RagnaroK behind. All that gas could have been spent on an infestation pit, on a hive, right? It's like on something else. And on the one hand, I don't blame RagnaroK, because if we think about the series as a whole, Game 3 played out very similar to Game 1. And Game 1, RagnaroK was winning. Like, if you remember, in Game 1, RagnaroK, he was denying the 4th base time and time again. The mutas were doing damage, you know, he was trading well. The big downside of RagnaroK was that he stayed a little bit too long on a lair tech army, right? And as a result, when a counterattack eventually happened, and when RagnaroK took one bad fight, things snowballed out of control. And I'm sure RagnaroK was probably thinking to himself, like, I just have to like tighten up a little bit more, you know. I just have to maybe make sure I don't get stuck on a low tech army again, and I just have to do it again, right? So I'm sure that's why RagnaroK responded the way that he did, because of how much success he had in the first game, and I'm sure he believed that he could like replicate that success and also perform even better, right, and make up for his mistakes. But as we saw, it didn't quite work out like that. As we saw, Gerald also adapted throughout the series. Gerald also did switch things up as well, and as a result, he really threw a wrench in the works, and GG, well played. Congratulations to RagnaroK for taking down... Sorry, congratulations to Gerald for taking down RagnaroK. Really, really cool stuff. A big upset, actually. A really big upset. GG. GG, well played.